Hi, today I'm going to invite Colby McCalvert. I'm going to interview him about mental fitness. I think this is a fascinating topic. So I'm going to wait for a few seconds until he shows up. I'm sure he'll be here soon. And then I can invite him to this talk. Let's see. I find it really, really interesting. I've started doing some work with this mental fitness and it's been amazing. It's been utterly amazing. So it's going to be really good talking with him about it. With all you people here. Let me see. There. Yes, Facebook's cooperating. That is cool. Colby will be with us soon. Facebook tells me we're adding.
Hello, Deanna.
Yes, it's worked. This is so cool.
I'm so
So,
stoked to be here.
yes, this was pretty amazing to actually get this to work because this is my first time doing this.
The hardest part is over.
Yes, the worst is done. So, we're going to talk about mental fitness.
Excellent.
Do you want to first tell me a bit about yourself so that everybody watching knows who you are? They don't know
Sure,
who
I'd
I am
love
yet,
to.
other than that they know my profile.
My
Because I
name is
didn't
Colby
introduce myself.
McElrath. I live in Southern California. I'm a mental fitness coach. I've been a coach for quite a few years now, and most recently transitioned to being a mental fitness coach. And I've just loved the journey so much, and I'm so excited to share a little bit more about it with everyone.
Cool. It's an amazing topic. So, um, how did you start with the mental fitness?
That's a great question. So I was actually introduced to a program called Positive Intelligence
Mm-hmm.
about 3 or 4 months ago. And Positive Intelligence is a program that was developed by blending quite a few different scientific backgrounds: positive psychology, neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and performance science together to really get an understanding of how we approach success, happiness, and our mindset. And I was able to be taught from the creator himself about mindfulness and how it relates to mental fitness and positive intelligence. And it's just a really powerful journey where I was able to experience it hands-on as a student of mental fitness and positive intelligence first, and have now been trained as a coach in mental fitness.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to that course, actually, because that
Of
was an amazing
course,
story. It was really
I,
good. It was really
I
good
know that
studying
it's
that.
impacted you quite a bit.
Yeah, it has. It certainly has. It impacted you a lot?
Absolutely, yes. It is absolutely changed my outlook. So
Mm-hmm.
let me just adjust. I'll tell a little bit more about mental fitness. So the
Cool.
definition of mental fitness is really it's your capacity to respond to the challenges that life throws at you with a positive mindset rather than a negative mindset. And this has a great impact on our lives and has had a great impact on my life. In the challenges that I face have not changed. My mindset and the way that I've reacted to them has changed substantially. And the impact that's been seen through research on mental fitness is that peak performance goes up, peace of mind and overall wellness go up, and there's an improvement in relationships. And that's really where I've seen it the most, is in improving my relationships with others. So my strongest influence that's sabotaging myself when it comes to my own mental fitness is the judge. And my judge is rather strong and has impacted the way that I view myself, my environment, and those around me. And by
Yeah.
understanding that the brain is this muscle that I get to work out by being intentional and focused with how I engage in these challenges and situations, it's absolutely changed how I interact with the world. And
Yeah.
I mentioned that this is research backed, and the research that's been done, it was done by a neuroscience researcher. His name is Shirzad Jameen. He is a researcher and professor at Stanford, and he's also a powerful mental fitness coach in the Bay Area of Northern California. And he did research on hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, students at Stanford, world-class Olympic athletes, and over 500,000 people in 50 countries. To me, I have the heart of a grizzly bear, but I have, you know, the brain of an Einstein, and I want to know more. I want to research. I have the brain of a scientist, and to understand that this is like rooted in neuro research really spoke deeply to me.
Yeah, I found it amazing when I learned that you can see the difference in the brain matter on MRI scans, where the gray matter is bigger and smaller. That was just totally fabulous to me.
Yes, it's profound, and you know, so I'll share a little bit more about the framework and how that fits into really that opportunity we have to improve and change our gray matter. So really the framework of positive intelligence involves 3 different core muscles that we get to build in our brain. The first is our saboteur interceptor. The second is our sage muscle. And the third is our self-command muscle. And I'll go through each of these and kind of explain what I mean by that. So for this saboteur interceptor muscle, I mentioned my judge. What Shirzad found with the research that he did is he found that the voices that are in our head that are guiding our behavior and our thoughts and our mindset live in 2 dynamically different regions of our brain. One set of voices that is less optimistic and more survival in nature lives in our brainstem and our limbic system, as well as parts of our left brain. And this is seen more as our survival brain. This is the part of us that wants to stay alive, regardless of how much we like life or what our mindset is. We get to stay alive. And what Shirzad named the voices that come from this section is our saboteurs. And then on the other side, in our middle prefrontal cortex, which is the most human, most developed part of us, as well as our empathy circuitry and our right brain, lives the sage voices. And these voices are optimism, positivity, encouragement, and empathy, more or less. And through his research, Shirzad was able to break it down into 10 saboteurs and 5 sage powers. And I'd like to touch a little bit on what I mean by 10 saboteurs. So there's a beautiful,
it will help
totally
understanding, so please go.
It's a beautiful and totally free saboteur assessment on Shirzad's website, positiveintelligence.com. If you're interested in this, that's a really good next step to take. And we'll explain a little bit more about what I mean when I say these saboteurs. So there are 10 different saboteurs. Everyone has the saboteur that Shirzad calls the judge. And this developed when we were young. None of us were raised in a laboratory in a perfect environment of love and acceptance and support. At least not most of us. I don't know. I don't know all of your friends on your friends list, Diana.
No. I haven't met anyone yet who was raised in a lab, so probably nobody.
Yeah. Let me know when you find them. I have some interesting tests to do based on sage saboteurs. So these 10 saboteurs, they develop because, you know, our parents, they were necessary for our survival. Our caregivers, parents or not, the people that provided us with our nourishment when we were young, without them, we would not live. They were activating our survival brain. And just so happens that our survival brain that wants us to live, it doesn't want us to experience new and fun and exciting things. It wants us to stay alive. And it thinks that it helps us to love our caregivers so that we can get the nourishment that we need. And the way that it does that is it develops defense mechanisms and coping skills that make us think that this caregiver is perfect and I have to treat them like they're perfect subconsciously so I get the nourishment I need. And if there's anything wrong in this, if there's something challenging here, if there's something wrong with the situation, it must be because of me, because I have to see them as perfect. And so from a young age, we grow this judgment of ourselves and others. And it's just nature, you know, it's just how we end up engaging with the world. And the great thing about it is that there's opportunity to be aware of it and mindful of it and move through it. And so
Yeah.
some of these other saboteurs are the controller, the hyperachiever, the restless saboteur, the stickler, the pleaser. My three top saboteurs are the restless saboteur, the hyper rational saboteur, and the avoider saboteur. And
Oh, we have one in common.
just knowing that has changed everything. You know,
Yeah.
I now understand that I have ADHD, and it's something that has impacted me deeply for much of my life. And part of my compulsion to get things done and focus in on something and then rapidly switch tasks comes from this deep feeling that I'm not doing enough and that I should be doing more in something else, and that there's more value in something that I'm not doing than what it is that I'm currently doing. And through
That's an
my deep
interesting thought.
connection to mental fitness, I have gained great
Mm-hmm.
clarity on my opportunity to remove value of what I'm doing today and what I could be doing, because the value is placed in me doing something, not in what I'm actually engaging in. And
Yes.
and so that is just a great example, you know, and so these saboteurs, they motivate us through our negative emotions. Hurry, you
Mm-hmm.
got to do something else, you got to do something different. These are fear and
Yeah.
stress and anger and guilt and shame and insecurity. And there's another way, because the thing about the saboteurs is that it's tricky. They do generate success from time to time. Having
Yeah.
strong saboteurs does not mean you won't be successful. It means you won't enjoy it. And that's,
Yes.
I think, a critical part for me is I
Yeah.
can get through life and be successful, but do I want to be happy in life? Because that is where
Preferably,
my
I guess.
sage lives. I suppose it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
I
when
would
it
think
comes,
so.
yeah, and so through this research, you found that there are many saboteur voices we all have. And we
Yeah.
also have the sage. And the sage is what motivates us through positive emotions: empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, and purpose. That's where I want to
Mm-hmm.
live. They generate
Yep.
highest success, proven through research. They generate 40% more success in people, and they generate sustained happiness. And to me, that blend between them is so, so powerful.
Sounds
And
amazing.
and with this framework, what I've realized is that, you know, I've been challenged, and people say, well, so what, negative emotions are bad? So what, we the fact that we want to try to survive, that's a bad thing, you know? And no, it's not that our negative emotions are bad. It's that we have an opportunity to engage with our negative emotions differently.
Yeah.
Our negative emotions are
Yeah.
like pain. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Deanna,
Well, I
please.
heard in the last Q&A with Shazad, I heard him talk
Yeah.
about how there are positive sides to the saboteurs and that we will never fully lose them because we will need that 10% for our survival. And that was
Yes.
absolutely fabulous to listen to, how there's two sides to everything. So yeah, it was really good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Could you
And
tell a bit
and
more about that?
yes, yeah. And I love how you put that. There's at least 10% good from it, right? Every situation
Yeah.
there's at least 10% good. And the
Yeah.
good that I've uncovered from negative emotions is that they are a powerful signal. When I have negative emotions, that is a red flag to me that something is not in flow. Something is out
Mm-hmm.
of alignment.
Yeah.
It's the same as when you have physical pain. Physical pain is not meant to be there for a day and a half and like sustained. Physical pain is supposed to be like, oh, I should take my hand off the stove, right? It's the same with
Yeah.
negative emotions. Now we can identify and intercept and say, hey, I feel frustrated right now. I'm feeling a compulsion to switch tasks. That means that I have an opportunity to say, is what I'm doing what I want to be doing? If it is, great.
Mm-hmm.
If not, don't judge yourself, but then do the thing that is worth doing right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes total sense to
So
me.
yeah, and through that, you know, now my negative emotions are a gift. When I feel a
They are.
negative emotion, that's telling me that, hey, there's an opportunity here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I find it really fascinating that that gives me this feeling of, hey, something needs to change. What needs to change? And then move in that direction. Makes life easier, much easier.
Yes. Yeah, it's a signal. It's a beautiful,
Hmm.
loud, intense, stop everything signal that's telling us, hey, there's an opportunity here to either
Yeah.
accept the situation as it is or convert it into something that that we can together feel better about.
Yeah. I think I've only been doing it for 1.5 weeks now, but I've seen so much change already. So it's definitely worth it. So I want to tell everyone, the whole world, about it.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And my favorite part, we've talked a bit about the saboteur, but the sage is really my favorite thing is not to focus on my saboteurs. It's a necessary step to identify where we are, but really my joy comes from focusing on my sage. That's where I gain this strength and positive emotions, where I am most peaceful and calm, where I'm clear-headed, creative, and I'm able to see the bigger picture of things.
Yeah, I
the
get
sage
that.
perspective on that too is the idea that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and an opportunity.
That makes sense.
Any situation we're in, there's something to be learned from it, some way to grow from it, or some way that I can be inspired from it.
Yeah. Well, any bad situation you can learn from. Anything that has gone
Yes.
wrong, you can learn from. So at least that is there.
Exactly.
And there's definitely more
Right,
bonuses too when you look.
I find that that's like a good safety net for me, is no matter how bad the situation, at least I can learn something new from it. And the sage
Yes.
perspective, there's like 3 ways that we can really turn any situation into a gift or perspective. The first is gaining new knowledge, like you said, something to learn from it. The second
Yeah.
is seeing it as a workout, saying this sucks and that's okay because it's going to get easier every time I do it, and I know that there's a purpose to me doing this. Or the last
Yeah.
one that I find to be really powerful is inspiration. And what is neat is the sage mind can take a situation and actively seek out another area of life in which they can use this bad situation to be inspired. The
That's cool.
example that came across my plate recently was someone that I'm coaching was just laid off in the middle of a
Oh.
pandemic, lives by himself in an apartment. And
Tricky.
when I spoke to him last, and we've engaged about the sage perspective, when I spoke to him last, he was actually really excited. And I was like, your energy has changed. You're pretty happy. Like, what's different? And he realized that by being laid off, he has the opportunity to find a job that's in alignment with his core values.
That's an important thing.
And, exactly. And he realized that he never would have left that job had they not let him go, because it was easy. He was getting paid. It was enough things were good that he wasn't going to be inspired enough to leave. But the
Sounds like it
situation that
felt like a
presented itself,
no-brainer.
the situation that presented itself, he was like, I can use this as inspiration to do something better than what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to actually gain from things in life that happen when you can access these sage powers in your brain. Because
Yes,
life will change drastically.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm only at
And
the judge level now, identifying the judge, but I already feel the change in that.
it's so powerful. That I feel if there's anything to gain from learning about mental fitness is knowing that that the judge voice is not us, that we are not our
Yes.
judge, and that we have the
Yes.
opportunity to hear our judge, acknowledge our judge, and choose the sage perspective.
Yeah.
And really, so there are 3 components to mental fitness, and the last is the actual exercise we do. And
Yeah.
Deanna, I know that this is something that has really impacted you deeply, the PQ
It has.
reps. Can
They
you tell me
have.
a little
That
bit about
was.
your experience with PQ reps?
Well, I used to have very frequently panic attacks at night, and I never knew where they came from. I've been to therapy and things like that, but when you don't have dreams beforehand, it's very hard to determine where it comes from. So I've not been able to figure that out, and it's been for years. And since I started doing the PQ reps, I haven't had one. And that's now
Wow.
a good 1.5 weeks. I have not been 1.5 weeks without a panic attack at night in 6, 7 years. So it's been,
Wow.
mind-boggling that this is possible. And also waking up in the morning much more calm than I've done in years. So that's just If only that came out of it, I'd keep doing it for the rest of my life, because that's
Yeah,
given me so much more rest at
powerful.
night. It's just fabulous.
Yeah, can you describe what a PQ rep is in your own words?
Yes, I think I can. It's a focused short time on something like touch or sound, or something you look at. So this really focused, trying to feel your toes, very focused, to find where they are and determine each single one of them. It's a bit like mindfulness, because I did the body scans in the past with mindfulness, and then you also started at the toes, and then every bit of your body. But with a PQ rep, you only have to do it 10 seconds, which is really cool, because then you have one PQ rep. And you don't have to gather that many in a day. It's actually surprisingly easy to do. So I found the practice really doable and really useful. So for me, it's just bonus points all around.
I love that. Yeah, and well put. It's just this opportunity to focus on one of our senses, to go into our body, stop that cycle in our brain, and just kind of like live as the human experience for a minute. Just focus
Yeah,
on our
stop the
senses, whether that's
rattling.
yeah, whether that's our sense of sight or breath or whatever. Yeah, you just have this opportunity at any moment to when I was speaking with Morana earlier this morning, one of the things she was talking
Mhm.
about is that we try to describe the taste of a strawberry. And no matter what
Yes.
words we use to describe the taste of a strawberry, it's not going to help someone to
No.
taste a strawberry.
Hmm.
And what these PQ reps do is it's this opportunity to stop this endless cycle of understanding and
Yeah.
thinking and rationalizing, and instead just kind of have a what the word mindfulness guides us to, a moment of just clarity. And that's really what puts us in that sage perspective.
I've found showering to become so much more pleasant, to just
Mm,
stand there under the warm water and feel it go down my face. That's just
yeah,
fabulous. Just
yeah,
focusing on that for a
powerful.
short bit.
And that's it. Yeah, and another one
Sorry.
that you had mentioned is food, using eating as a PQ. Can you
Yes.
share a little bit about your experience with that, Deanna?
Um, it's made me realize that I don't like the flavor and texture of brown bread. To really calmly eat that, then you get this feel in the mouth, and it doesn't mean that I stop eating it, but it just made it less interesting. Other foods have become much more interesting by really tasting it. A
Okay.
hard-boiled egg, I used to just shove in and be done, and now I have this thing that actually is very varied, because the
Mm,
egg white boiled and the egg yolk boiled, they're very different. So it's been
mm.
fascinating to discover food in a different way.
Wow. So it's really connecting you to that experience of
Yes,
what you're engaging in, what
it's
you're
made
doing.
life much more deep, much more
Wow.
interesting. It's
Powerful.
been really good, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So
Do you have
I
any of
just
that?
wanted to, oh yeah, absolutely. And for me, colors are brighter.
Sorry.
I do
Mm-hmm.
PQ reps related to sight a lot. And the way that works is
Yeah.
you just look at an object and don't try to think about it, but instead look at it for its shape, its texture, its color, its
Mm-hmm.
lines, things like that. And now I can really focus. Like this plant is one of my favorite plants to look at because it's so vibrant and colorful. And
Yeah.
just focusing, it's the silliest thing, but focusing on one object and looking at it deeply and differently changes my whole
Yeah.
perspective for the afternoon. It's so powerful. And
Yeah.
so
I found
Deanna,
it
I just
really
wanted
interesting in
to,
drinking music.
yeah. Hmm.
What's one
Well,
instrument or one voice?
hmm.
The
Very
Eurythmics are
much
really
so.
cool for that.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I want to wrap up by talking just briefly about the
Yeah.
simplicity of mental fitness
Yeah.
and what that looks like. So, if you're feeling a negative emotion, you have to stop. You identify it and realize, listen, what I'm feeling right now are my saboteurs. Thank you for being here. That's not what I want to do. That's the opportunity for us to do a PQ rep. When you hear that saboteur, you just go into focus mode. Focus on the weight of your seat on your chair. Focus on
Mm-hmm.
how many toes you have. Focus on the ridges on your fingers. Do something that stops that negative emotion and says, oh, thanks, I got the flag, I'm aware, don't need it anymore. And activate that sage by focusing on that feeling of mindfulness. Once you assume that sage perspective, whatever situation you are in and whatever caused this negative emotion can be converted to a gift and an opportunity. You can use that situation which triggered your saboteur as a flag of an opportunity to gain new wisdom, an opportunity to exercise your mind, or an opportunity to be inspired to go above and beyond the challenges of the situation you're in. And by doing that, you can use these sage powers like empathy, curiosity, creativity, and you can create calm, clear-headed action. It's a very, very powerful process. What I found to be super significant about it that's relevant to this talk is that success with positive intelligence requires an intense initial practice. This involves focusing deeply for the first 6 to 8 weeks. Shahzad likes to describe positive intelligence like the Jedi mind tricks. And he talks a lot about you can't defeat 10 people at once without practicing the art of the Jedi. You know, it's something that we have in us and we have to train and refine and work on.
Yeah.
You mentioned the increase in gray matter. And what's powerful is that 15 minutes a day throughout the day, dispersed in 2 to 5 minute segments for 6 to 8 weeks, shows an increase in gray matter in our prefrontal cortex, where our sage perspective lives, and a decrease in gray matter in our brainstem, where our saboteurs live. 6 to 8 weeks. This isn't like
on an
10
MRI.
Years. Yeah, from an MRI. Yeah. This isn't like you have to climb a mountain and live in a cave for 10 years. Yeah, 15 minutes a day for 6 weeks. And I mean, you saw it in 10 days, Diana. You saw a shift in your perspective and how you have engaged with these saboteurs and your restless mind. So
they're fascinating.
Powerful.
I see them as an alarm bell now. Not that I can always stop it, but once I realized it's an alarm bell to react to, it became easier.
Powerful.
And I recognize it in others even now, which I can, with some people I have this thing, oh yes, your victim is high. It's a bit sad at times that I can recognize it so well, or your pleaser is high, but yeah, it's
that's
fascinating
one of the things
to just
that, Shahzad acknowledges that it's, once we become aware of this operating system, it's our tendency, it's easier often to see the saboteurs in others than it is in ourselves. And our real challenge and opportunity is to focus on the sage perspective, that 10% of what they're doing at minimum is sage and love. And we have the opportunity to have empathy for someone, not call them out, not show them what they're doing is wrong, but have empathy for them because they are in their saboteurs.
Yeah. And they can get
an
out.
Awesome conversation.
Lend them a hand.
Yeah.
And guide them.
Diana, do you have any questions about mental fitness that I can field while we're in this interview?
I think you've been very thorough with your explanation. Sad thing is I'm a bit aware of it, so for someone who knows nothing, I'm not the right person to ask questions because half of it's already very, very well known to me. But I think you've been pretty thorough, so, and we do get loves and likes, so can't be too bad then.
I've really loved having this conversation with you. This is
really good.
Been really eye-opening for myself and how I engage with it, and you've given me an opportunity to reflect on the ways that it's impacted me and my personal relationships and the way that I value the work that I do. So thank you so much for having me.
Without doing this, I would have never even gotten on this because I would have never suggested it. This is scary stuff.
That's powerful. Yeah.
It's been good.
Diana, I do want to offer to any one of your friends on Facebook, anyone watching this, if anyone's interested in learning more about mental fitness and would like to engage with mental fitness, I run a 6-week mental fitness course. I do this pretty regularly. Cool. It involves all 3 components of mental fitness: saboteur interceptor, sage perspective, and the self-command muscle that we build through those PQ reps. You've been in the program for 10 days, and it's already really influenced you in a positive way.
Yes. Well, the people in my pod, within a week, every single one of us noticed changes.
Wow. Yeah. So this program, on Shahzad's website, you can go to positiveintelligence.com. You can sign up at any time and be engaged with it. It's $1,000 a person to get a seat in this program. I have access. I'm a mental fitness coach and I run these courses as well. It's virtually the same experience that you would get through his website. And I want to offer it, Deanna, to anyone watching this for $200 for this 6-week course. So
Cool.
if anyone is interested
Awesome.
in learning more, please just reach out to me on Facebook, send me a message. I'd
That's
love
a big
to
discount.
talk more about it with you. And if you're interested, I do have a 6-week course that started in a couple weeks.
Cool. I do hope a couple will contact you, because there's always someone who, well, no, everybody basically needs this.
It's changed my life. Yeah, it's a powerful
Yeah.
process that I think everyone can benefit from. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Deanna. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you very much. It was really good to
Of
have you.
course. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon, Deanna.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.